What's up, guys? Welcome to Story Time. You know, now that I'm older and just so perfected now, I feel like I can open up with some stories from my youth. Not all of them, because I have two young boys at home, and some of those stories are for when they're older. So I have a little 3-part series that I'm going to do, and it is to tell you about the 3 times I have involuntarily found myself in handcuffs. So, going back to 2002, I was a rambunctious young man, just about 21 and a half, and went to work. It was a Friday, went to work, really wasn't feeling it, just didn't feel like being there, hanging out, anything like that. And so I just said, I don't feel real well and I'm going to go home. So what does anybody that's not feeling real well go and do? You call up your best friend, and why he was at home and not working that day, I don't remember why, but time to start day drinking. And together we had gone and each bought a couple 50cc motorcycles. So we're hanging out, drinking, riding around his house, doing our little jumps on the things, just, being the dorks we were and having a great old time. Well, the evening comes around and we hear a couple friends are having a get together. That's kind of what we called it. We didn't really call it a party. It very much was a party, but, we're out of high school. It's just a get together, and, quite a few people arrived. And the fun part about this one is these two guys lived in a house that was pretty soon going to be demolished for the sake of building a new building. So it used to be an insurance office that turned into a house, and this is in the middle of Alpine on Alpine Boulevard. And we go, yeah, let's go, right? And I mean, you want to be safe and not drink and drive, and we'd been drinking all day, so the natural thing was to ride our 50s to this party. Having a good old time. We're doing donuts in the kitchen, linoleum floors, there's beer all over. We're doing break stands and donuts and just having a good old time. And so then we go out, we go riding around through a couple neighborhoods. I hit some gravel, lay it over, rip a hole in my pants. Brand new pants, pretty much, from my brother got me for Christmas. They were corduroy. Just to really set the time and the fashion of what was going on. We come back to the party, more donuts in the kitchen, more break stands, more loudness. Well, I needed to dry my tires off, so I go out and I ride out of the get together and exit the parking lot area, and I go about 10-15 feet on the shoulder of the road. And as I do that, I see big blue and red lights light up. So I was turning, went out, was heading back in, and the officer stopped me, and I stopped my bike, and he's like, "You're trying to run, huh?" And I'm like, "On this? No, sir." He was a reserve sheriff that worked a couple days out of the week, and this guy really wanted to get his cop on. So he pulls me over and sits me down and proceeds to put me in handcuffs. And as I'm sitting there, people inside the party get together are just ruckus and fucking around, and most of all of our buddies were all 21, so we didn't really give a shit that law enforcement was there. Nobody was running away. And the sheriff tells me, if everyone inside is cool, we'll let you go. And I'm like, well, got my fingers crossed on that one. Not really hopeful, but I don't think that they knew what was on the line, and it possibly didn't matter. So as I'm sitting out there and just sitting and sitting and sitting, it was about, for anybody that thinks maybe this is not a true story, I have my award from the police. They stopped me at 11:13 p.m. So I'm sitting there for a while, and as it turns out, some of my friends were not so polite to law enforcement and had some funny things to say inside of there. My one buddy, we'll call him Russ. He was saying some stuff to the law enforcement officers they did not appreciate. He was not behaving very well. Long story short, they come back out to me and go, well, guess what? Your friends weren't behaved that great inside, so we're going to take you down to this pretty building downtown San Diego. And as they're searching me to put me into the police car, it came back to me. They pull out a little container of marijuana seeds that I had. I had a person at work earlier that day when I went to work, had a jacket on. They had asked me if I knew somebody that had any marijuana seeds so that they could grow their medicine. And I said, yeah, I know somebody. I brought them to work with me, forgot they were in my pocket. When the sheriff searches me, he pulls these out and says, oh, intent to cultivate, huh? Oh, yeah. I mean, there was like 15 in there, but whatever. It was just kind of the way the guy was handling me was a fucking joke. Again, I know I did something wrong, but I mean, come on. But anyway, so when they book me, I get a possession along with the driving over the legal limit, double of it. So I go downtown, riding in the car. They take me in. As I'm sitting there with handcuffs on, the very large, and he was fairly overweight, this reserve sheriff that was dealing with me, he wasn't the one that brought me in, but he happened to bring one of my friends in that wasn't behaving so well at the party. And he tells me to sit down and look straight. Don't turn around. 21, this is kind of a fucking joke to me, really, that I'm even there. And so naturally, if I'm told to don't turn around, I'm going to turn around. And I am sitting back to back with Russ, who I found out later was the reason that he wasn't behaving very well in there. But I was like, Russ. And then because of being the punk rock kind of asshole that I was, and the sheriff not being so polite, I said to him, isn't there a weight limit for being a sheriff? And he said, yeah, there is. And I go, well, don't you exceed it? Some of the things we do to make ourselves laugh. I don't think he appreciated it. Didn't change the outcome of anything of how I was being processed. But because of the possession, along with the DUI, they're like, you're going to stay for the weekend so that you get to see the judge and he can determine your fate. So as other people would go to the drunk tank, I got to go and strip down naked in front of all these other people and get processed along with these people that are going to stay the weekend also. That was interesting. And I got to wear orange clothes, really large baggy underwear, really large baggy socks, and some, I don't even think they had Crocs back then, but pretty sweet sandals. And it turns out that I am the only person guilty of drinking and driving in this cell this evening. The rest of the people that I get put in with were all busted picking up undercover hookers. They ran a sting that night, and they got a whole cell full of them. And it was hilarious to hear these guys' stories. All of them have like the same story. Like, I was just driving down the road, this lady's real pretty, didn't look like a hooker. These guys all thought that they just had the smell to them that night, that this lady sniffed them out while driving by and waved them down, and they were just there for a good time. Every single one of them. It was fucking hilarious. Now, I didn't know what to do. It was just as weird as could be. Fortunately, I got bailed out. I mean, of course, you call your dad to admit to him what you have fucking done and the position that you were in. And I got bailed out and got to get my clothes back and got put back out. And they say, get out, have a nice day. And I'm sitting outside of the jailhouse the next morning with a big rip in my pants. I did not sleep all night. It was a bit awkward. And I did not learn my lesson when it came to the drinking and driving thing. Just a little bit of foreshadowing there. But it's the dumb things that we do. Now, I did a little sit down with a buddy, and he was like, Blake, what's one of the most embarrassing things that's ever happened to you? And I couldn't think of any. And really, this to me, that the whole incident and everything that revolved around it wasn't all that embarrassing. Telling everybody the story right now is probably the most embarrassment I've felt from the whole ordeal. So it was an experience, to say the least. And what did I learn from that? Well, according to the award, that deputy, I'm not going to say his name, Dickless, it's really close to his name, observed the subject riding a mini bike in the middle of the street, Alpine Boulevard, without a headlight or tail light and without a helmet. So for all those that might find themselves in a similar situation, do yourself a favor. Protect your head and use a headlight and a tail light. Maybe you wouldn't have pulled me over. For now, that's story time. That's time number one of involuntarily finding myself in handcuffs and the overall great experience that I had with that. So thanks for listening. Talk to you soon. Fucking love you guys. Bye.